Okay, it's 6:30 and we've got a quorum, so I'll open tonight's meeting, Thursday, February 4th, 2021 at 6:30. All members of the board are present. This is a joint meeting, I believe, too, right, Tony?
Yes, with the review as the public health and the school committee.
Yeah. Okay, so we opened. Is the school committee on, or they have a quorum yet?
Don't have a quorum yet. We should have.
Okay, well, it's down the line, so when we get to it on the agenda, I'm sure you will. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to start with our update. I can't wait to the day when we start our meetings without these updates, Deb. But
Me either.
but in the meantime, the floor is all yours.
Okay, thank you. So, although tonight's numbers reflect that we are still in the red, we are really in much better shape than the numbers would like you to believe. The reason being, we were reported tonight with 28 new cases in the last 2 weeks, which put us over the 25, which puts us in the red zone. But remember, we talked about this before, that we did have an outbreak at the Jasmine Nursing Home, where we had 15 active cases. So out of those 15 cases from the Jasmine, unfortunately, 2 people did die, but everybody else recovered. And so they are clear right now. They have no positive cases, and they all received their second vaccine yesterday. So right now, today, in the community, I only have 4 active COVID cases. So that is the lowest number that we've had in a long time for active cases. So I'm confident that in the next reporting schedule next week, we will not be in the red anymore. So the Jasmine continues to do testing twice a week. And now that everybody's had both of their vaccines, in a couple of weeks, the second vaccine will be activated, and they should be in really, really good shape over there to prevent another outbreak. I see Tony P. is on the line, so I won't say anything about the school tonight. I'm sure he'll want that. And Tony, did you want to talk about the vaccine clinic? Or did you want me to?
I guess I just wanted to say that, thank you to you and your staff that's starting to grow. And the, Lynn Public Health, the mayor. I went over yesterday, and it's amazing to see, so many different organizations come together to put together such a smooth operation. Lynn Fire's there, Lynn Health Center, and what I understand that the first day of vaccine distribution at that clinic actually distributed more vaccines than Gillette, and it's one of the most efficient, if not the most efficient clinics in the whole state. So, I mean, for the city of Lynn and Little Nahant here to work together and end up being like the case study of clinics for the entire state, that's awesome. So I thank you, Deb, and everybody, in Lynn, and it's working out really well. I also say that the call center we put together has been an extreme success as well. We've had a ton of folks call looking for help because, it's unfortunate that, fortunately, this group, this first phase here of 75 plus are prioritized to get the vaccine. Unfortunately, they tend to be the least savvy when it comes to scheduling appointments on the internet. So they end up being kind of like the first group to have to go through that process, and it's not easy. There's a lot of kinks that need to be worked out. So we put together, we have 4 people at the town hall, 4 different lines for Nahant residents to call. And if there's appointments available when you call, we're on the phone with you, scheduling them. If not, we're taking your information down and calling you back once they become available. And, you know, I think there's been more Nahant people going through the Lynn Clinic than Lynn residents.
Right. And Tony, the reason might be, I learned today that Lynn does not have a call center. And as you just said, this is very difficult. A lot of people don't, in that age group in Lynn, don't even have computers. So I think they're working towards that. The other thing just to note is we've been using the Moderna vaccine, and tomorrow we're switching to the Pfizer, only because that's what the state had available. So that's what they're shipping. So next week at the Lynn Tech Clinic, it will most likely still be Pfizer, but we, the Board of Health nurses are going to be going to Breed Junior High in Lynn to give the first responders their second vaccine. And they will be getting the Moderna because that's what they got the first time. So, so we have to remember with the Pfizer, there's only a 21-day interim between the 2 vaccines, and with the Moderna, there's 28.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody saw the article in the item this morning, but Paul Carter wrote it, and he gave a perfect accounting of how seamless that operation was over in Lynn.
It's amazing.
Just incredible. I was over there myself, and everything was perfect.
Right. And it's great to see so many Nahant people coming through the line too.
Yeah.
In addition to our first responders.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great news. That's great news. And the call center is still open, right, Tony?
Yep, it's open with town hall hours. So Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 4 o'clock, and then on Fridays, 7:30 to 12:30. And if
Tony, how about
we
the
got
testing?
voicemails too. So if you don't get us, leave a voicemail, we'll call you back.
Tony, how long's the testing continue?
The testing up at the church, we have another day Saturday. The last few Saturdays haven't been, we've had probably less than 50 tests per those 2 hours when we were originally doing closer to 100. So, that's the good news there is it allows us to spread our funds a little bit further. The bad news is I'd like to see more people getting tested. So for now, we have plenty of money to continue to do it on Saturdays up at the church from 1 to 3, and encourage folks to go and get one. It's not a long wait at all. So
That's great. That's great. John, do you have anything to add?
Well, I can review, if you would like, the governor's announcement earlier today that we will be entering phase 3, step 1, and how it affects Nahant, if you'd like.
Sure, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
So effective Monday at 5 a.m., the state is entering, as I said, phase 3, step 1, and it will increase the capacity maximums from 25%, which is in effect now, to 40%. And that affects operations in town, including the library, places of worship, offices, and restaurants, and close contact personal services. And employees are not counted toward that capacity as they were in earlier phases and steps. And it remains that there are no capacity limits on construction and laboratories. And the state of emergency had expired, but was extended indefinitely. The maximum numbers for gatherings, both private and public, remain at 10 for indoors and 25 for outdoors. So this was good news, because this is indicative that the numbers are going down at the rate and to the level that, as had been stated by the governor previously, once we get back to this, not just a level, but trending, then we could be back to phase 3, step 1. So here we are, starting Monday morning. As has been stated before, if people have questions in this regard, they can send them to me via email or through the town hall.
That's
Okay.
great. Thank you, John.
Yep.
Josh, Gene, any questions for John?
Nope.
Okay. We have some help
Mr. Chair,
coming. Go ahead, Tony.
thank you. Would you like me to make a report on the school?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you. Once again, it's my pleasure to report that we continue to be open. We continue to be able to report that due to the protocols that we have in place, we have not been able to trace any COVID-19 that has been transmitted at the school. We've had 7 students with COVID-19 positive tests. All of them have taken place, all the transmission has taken place outside of school. And we have had no staff members test positive to date. And I want to make sure I thank Deb for all of her expert guidance and help, and our own school nurse, Charlotte Delicio, who have done a great job, and all of our staff, and frankly, all of our parents and guardians who are taking it very seriously. When we have a protocol in place that if any student demonstrates any of the symptoms, they are to stay home, and parents have been fabulous about it. And that's the reason we continue to be open. Thank you.
Everything I heard, Tony, is really off the charts. You and your staff have done a great job over there. I'm so happy. In fact, my 3-year-old grandson just started school there yesterday. So, and I picked him up today, and he said he had the best day of his life today.
That's fabulous.
Deb, I know that you've always been telling us how well the school is going, and thank you for helping out in that regard too.
Oh, that's my pleasure.
Yeah. Okay. We have an approval. We have some cavalry coming, Deb. Here, I see.
Yes, we
Some
do.
help. Right. So we have Tony. You want to talk about the assistant health nurse?
Yeah, so we, as we talked about in the, over the past months now, Deb has been working so many hours per week. I mean, the countless hours per week. And when the vaccine distribution phase started to interfere, I guess, with those hours, because there's only so many possible to do. She was just, Deb's been pulled in so many different directions. So we, through you, Mr. Chairman, and the Board of Health, decided to post an assistant health nurse position. We got funding from our reserve fund through the finance committee, who supported this as well. And we posted the position, and we had 2 applicants, and one of them ended up deciding that it wasn't time for her. But the position remains open. So if we have more applicants come along, we're happy to review those resumes and take a look to, the more that we can do to give Deb a couple hours off, the better.
I'm going to have Friday off. It has been confirmed.
Deb's got Friday off.
Good job, Deb.
Deb, you
Friday, not this
actually,
Friday, next Friday.
Deb, I deferred to you. You interviewed both candidates. Do you want to speak to that?
They're both great candidates. One of them is actually, she got called back to Brigham and Women to, of course, give the vaccine. So she didn't really, this wasn't a good time for her. But the other one, who does work full-time at Tufts, but 3 12-hour days, doing emergency transport for very, very sick pediatric patients. So she was interested, and she actually worked with us today at the clinic because she can't do the tracing yet, but her user ID and her everything should have come into her today. But in the meantime, we certainly could use her at the clinic. She's amazing. Her name is Anna McNicholas. I was her school nurse back when she was in the Johnson School, and she was great today. She is going to be a self-starter, I can see, and she's very excited to help us at the clinics, and also, to pick up a day or two when she's off. There she is. There she is, right there. So I should let her speak. But hi, Anna. She's muted. I was just praising you and saying what a great job you were even doing at the clinics before you even started.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was a great opportunity being there the past 2 days. It's been wonderful being able to help out.
Well, thank you, Anna, for joining the team. Let me tell you, it couldn't have come at. I wish it happened a few months ago, but Deb needs a break, and you're the person to give it to us. So thank you for coming on board.
Yeah, I'm excited to be able to help her out.
I think I'm the most excited.
That's great. Well, that's great. Tony, this is your appointment. It doesn't need approval by the board, right?
Actually, it does. If you guys could vote
That's
to
not a
approve
full-time
my
one. Okay,
appointment,
yeah.
that'd be great.
Okay. I have a motion.
I'll motion that we appoint as in Anna McNicholas as a assistant nurses,
Public health nurse.
public health nurse.
Motions are made.
Seconded.
Second, any discussion on the motion? Seeing, hearing none, all those in favor?
Josh Hanford, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I. Get ready, Anna. Here we go. Thank you again. Deb, you are still looking for administrative help at the clinic. So if there's anybody out there that can help, either getting people in line or that type of stuff at the clinic, then who should they contact?
Well, they can contact me, but actually, I had a couple of people that I referred, and they were told they didn't need administrative help right now.
Okay, good.
So, but they can still, get in touch with me, and I'll take their information. It changes on a daily basis. They're going to try to even open this clinic 7 days a week soon.
Yeah,
So-
let's put them on a list, because
Right,
as we
right.
get further into the phases and more vaccines available,
Right.
I'm sure they'll need the help.
Okay. Let's see, a couple opening comments and we'll get to new business. Winter parking ban is still in effect. Will be in effect until March 20th. DPW is still looking for snow removal operators and equipment. Contact Town Hall if you're interested. And the Community Preservation Committee is accepting grant applications for community preservation funds. They are due on March 12th, a couple weeks. You can send your applications to Christian Taylor at the Town Hall. You can go online and get a copy of the application also. Okay. New business. Now, I don't like.
Could I just add to that, Mr.
Yep,
Chairman?
go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, so there is some very good news to share about the Community Preservation Act match for 2020. That match is 70%, which is great. So for every dollar that Nahant contributes to the CPA fund, we get $1.70 back. So it's great to know that Nahant's participation in the CPA continues to be a great financial deal for the town of Nahant.
I know that's great news, Josh. I saw that, at the beginning, we were thinking that the pandemic was going to slow down the housing market, which funds, where the funds come from for community preservation, but it certainly hasn't. And so that's great news.
Yeah, and initial indications are next year should be pretty strong return as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know that communities that have the 3% surcharge, like Nahant, get a much larger percentage than communities that have a 1 or 2% surcharge.
Yeah.
Okay, great. New business. I hate to see this, Chief, but I'll hand it over to Tony. I might get emotional.
Let me ask him to unmute here.
Yeah.
So we've put Chief Dwyer on the agenda today. He has an announcement for the community, and I'll follow up after he's done.
All right. Good evening. I want to take this opportunity to officially announce my retirement as Chief of Police for the town of Nahant, effective July 31st. It's been an honor to serve this town for the past 11 years as a chief. I want to thank the current and past Board of Selectmen, town administrators, and most importantly, our residents for their support during my 30-year law enforcement career. My decision to retire was a difficult one to make. However, I'm looking forward to the next chapter. I am more than grateful that the powers to be back in 1991 took the chance on hiring a Lynn kid. I said to myself I wouldn't do this. Who rose through the ranks to lead an outstanding, caring, compassionate, hardworking police officers. I also want to thank my wife and kids for their patience, understanding, working around a police officer's schedule. I plan on working closely with Tony to find the right person to take over command of our hardworking, dedicated police officers. Police officers' job is a demanding and difficult at times. However, if you have compassion, communication, skills, and good work ethic, you'll come out on top. I want to thank everybody. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would just like to, follow up to say that, Chief Dwyer has been, has been one of my most reliable department heads, has been a mentor to me. From the minute I got on, he, took me under his wing and has, been someone that I could always, bounce an idea off or have a conversation or figure out the history of some, there's always history to everything. So, and he always knew it. And, just such a solid public servant and really understands our community, really understands the force, has taken that department, so many, has advanced the department tenfold from what it was prior to him. And I know it's it's going to be really tough for us, and tough for the department, tough for the town. But that being said, so excited for him to get to experience retirement and time off. No one's more deserving of it. Chief Dwyer's isn't a 9-to-5 guy or Monday through Friday kind of guy. He's there early, he's there late, he's there on Saturdays, he's in every parade and every community event, and he wears the badge and the Nahant emblem seal with honor, and really believes you know, he's just such a great guy on top of it all, such a great friend. So, you know, thank you, Chief Dwyer, for everything. We're gonna miss you, and you always have a home here. But we'll get you back. We'll get you back one way or the other.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll put him on the reserve list.
Yeah, thinking about it. Thank you.
Can I say
Chief.
one thing about him too, as far as the COVID, in the
Sure,
COVID
right.
world?
Yeah.
He's been unbelievably helpful to me when I can't find people or if addresses have been, sent to me incorrectly. He responds Saturday, Sunday, any time of the day, and we always get our man. So
We do.
I didn't know you were retiring, Chief, and I'm very shocked and saddened to hear
It
that.
was a tough decision, but
Yeah,
it's the right one at this.
I'm
It's
sure
been
it is.
rough couple of years, and the COVID and
I know.
a lot of soul searching, thinking about it. And I have a beautiful granddaughter, and I got two more coming I got one coming in March and another in May, two grandsons. So I might be following Mark around in the carriage. So
We can open our own daycare, Papa Daycare.
yeah,
Chief, you and I go back a long way, as you know.
Yes.
Right from the beginning. And I remember when Chief Waters retired, I was like, oh boy, because Chief Waters really brought that department up to a high level, and
Yes.
I wanted it to remain there. And my uncle Jim Hosker called me one day after Chief Waters left and said, let's go have lunch. And went out for lunch, and he said, so who's going to be the next chief? And I said, well, I think there's only one person on my mind that can do it, and that's you, Bob. And my uncle said, good. That's what I was thinking. So, we've been through some tough times and some good times.
Yep.
Bob. And, any success I might have had was directly related to you. So you were the person I never had to worry about. Your staff was loyal to you and respected you and never had a problem. And I'll miss you, but hopefully you can get that RV and you can start joining me on some trips that you were thinking.
Yeah, I got a little bit to go. I'm going to work for a little while. I'm still fairly young. I got a lot of things, irons in the fire. We'll see where it brings me, but the town has been good to me. I feel more, like you said, I'm a Lynn kid. I still live in Lynn, but my heart's in that town, and I'm going to miss it.
Yeah. Josh, Gene?
Well, just very quickly, thanks, Chief, for everything. And, just from the perspective of a person who's lived in town a long time, our safety is something I frankly never even think about. And that's a direct result of your leadership in the force that you've led for all these years. So as a citizen, thanks for everything.
Thanks.
Hey, Chief, it's Gene, and I'm sorry I haven't had the opportunity to work with you. I'm a short timer here. But everything I've heard of it is always about your impeccable track record. And on behalf of myself and the citizens of the town, we really appreciate your years of service. And, I hope you enjoy your retirement.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mark, thanks for having the confidence of me in 2010 to put me in that position. It's much appreciated.
Never a doubt in my mind, Chief.
Okay. Thank you. And we'll make sure that the next person in, you'll have the confidence in him as well. And we're going to lead the department to take over from what Billy Waters started and I picked up from, and the next man in and the next officer in, Chief, he's going to take care of business, and he's going to be, I'll be there with him. I'll be a phone call away until, if there's any questions that need to be answered or something they need help with, anything, I'll be there. I'm not abandoning the town for any means.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Chief Dwyer, when he told me that he was gonna be retiring, you know, the first thing he said was, I'm not running out the door. I'm not leaving you hanging here. There's something to be said on someone who, has served the town for so long and, making the decision to retire and still having that mindset of sticking around for a few more months here and making sure that the community is left in good hands and that the culture of the department there stays strong. And it's not a city police department. It's a community police department. There's a family culture there that starts with him, and he's already begun the process of working with me and the department on this transition, and we're going to be working through that over the next coming weeks here. And I just want to again say, he's just such a stand-up person and public servant, and thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi, Tony, P, do we have the school committee on board? He's muted.
We do, Mr. Collinan.
Okay. Hi, Lauren, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good.
Thank you for having us tonight.
Great. You have a quorum?
We do.
Great. So, Tony, you want to walk us through this appointment?
Sure. So, Lori Ballantyne resigned from the school committee not that long ago. We wish her great luck in her future endeavors. I know she is an inspiring attorney and looking to jump into the next step of her career. So we wish her a lot of luck and thank her for all the time that she served on the committee and served the town. When we have a vacant position in an elected board or committee, our bylaws stipulate that a joint vote of the remaining members of that board with the Board of Selectmen can appoint or vote to appoint someone to fill that seat until election day as the appointed. And then on election day, that the remaining years of that term would be on the ballot. We had a vacant seat a few months back, and we had two excellent candidates put their names in the hat, and it was very close. And one of them is with us as a member of the school committee tonight, and the other is here as a prospective candidate to fill this vacant seat. So what we'll do here is I'll also let the chairwoman of the school committee say a few words, but the process after that will simply be a nomination vote of both the school committee and the Board of Selectmen of the candidate, and then a formal vote of appointment. Lauren?
Thank you very much, Mr. Barletta. Thank you. And thank you to the selectmen for having the school committee here tonight. And thank you, Mr. Parentazzi, for joining us too. So I feel so incredibly lucky that when one absolutely wonderful community member stepped down, we had another community member reach out so quickly, and she's the most qualified I could ever imagine. I mean, my gosh, I've known Patty Karras personally for years, but I never had quite the appreciation for what an amazing professional she is until I look at that very amazing resume of hers. So we could not be more lucky to have such a wonderful person and such a brilliant mind, be applying to join our school committee. Not to painstakingly go through every line of her resume because it would be too impressive and take too long, but my goodness, I mean, she's managed amazing corporations financially. She's been really at the helm of problem solving within some really well-known organizations. And her experience would make her a very valued member of our committee. And I really appreciate, her generosity of her time in volunteering to join our committee. So I feel very lucky to have her here. If any other members have anything to say, it would be welcome, or a motion to appoint would also be welcome, and we can go through this process.
I agree with everything you said, Lauren. Could not agree more.
Same here. I'm thrilled that Patty will be part of the committee.
Excited to have you join. I'd be happy to make a motion to appoint Patty Karras to the school committee.
So your first motion is going to be
Sorry.
to nominate
Oh, sorry. I make a motion.
for the vacant seat.
Sorry. I make a motion to nominate Patty Karras to the vacant seat in the school committee.
And do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we'd have a roll call vote on this, Tony?
Yes, please. So, if you would, Madam Chair, read out the names of your committee members, and they can respond with the vote in the affirmative.
Sure. Thomas Tria,
Aye.
Mary West,
Aye.
Regina Lane,
Aye.
and Lauren Sherlock. The chair votes aye.
And Mr. Chairman, if you could,
Go ahead, Josh. Josh Antrim?
Yeah, one sec. Sorry, I'm still looking at her resume.
It's quite a resume.
Yeah, very impressive. Let's talk about that for a while I find the right spot here.
No, all you have to do is say aye if you
Yeah.
want to. Then we can discuss
Okay, yeah,
it.
we don't have a motion. Oh, sorry, we're voting. Yes, sorry. Josh Antrim, aye on the nomination.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I.
great. So next will be a motion from, if the school committee would begin with a motion to appoint, and a roll call vote, and then the Board of Selectmen will follow. And if
I'll make a
you,
motion.
Madam Chair, I guess even before that, if you want to give an opportunity for Patty to say a few words before we get to the vote, I'm
I would be
sure.
more than happy to. Patty, thank you for joining us. Would you like to say anything?
I would like to thank everyone. I'm humbled and I'm very honored, and I really look forward to working with all of you at the school committee and serving this wonderful community.
Thank you so much, Patty. And do we have a motion?
Yep. I'll make a motion to appoint Patty Karras to the Nahant School Committee.
I'll second.
All right. And roll call vote. Tom Tria,
Aye.
Mary West,
Aye.
Regina Lane,
Aye.
and Lauren Sherlock votes aye.
Josh Antrim,
Josh Antrim, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I. Congratulations, Lauren. All you have to do is stick around. I was so, the last time we voted it was so difficult because you were so well qualified, and I was just hoping that the day would come not too soon, that we could make the appointment. So I'm glad to be part of it.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Thank
Patty.
you very much.
Congratulations, Patty.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you all for your support and for letting us move forward tonight. This was wonderful. Thank you.
Well, Madam Chair and Mr. Chairman, I'll have this ballot at the clerk's office. If you can, at some point, stop by and sign it so we can submit it in for the record. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Great. Thank you, everybody. All right, we're gonna have to open the open the town warrant for discussion here, right?
Yes.
I just want to make that motion. I move the Board of Selectmen vote to open the May 15th, 2021 annual town meeting warrant for submittal of articles by all town boards, committees, personnel, and the public for consideration of placement onto the annual town meeting warrant.
I'll second that.
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Josh, am I?
Gene?
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I. Want to take it, Tony?
Sure. So we have, in our bylaws, the requires that all citizen petitions or committee requested articles for town meeting warrant be submitted by January 31st. We also have the ability, or the Board of Selectmen has the ability after tonight, if they so choose, to make amendments to the warrant, to open, edit, and close. What we'll be doing tonight is going through the current warrant, the draft that we have in hand here, and we will close it and send it to the Finance Committee. I have it on my screen. I can share my screen to go through it. If you want me to do that now, or
Yeah, no, let's do it.
discussion of the second motion. Go through it now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so Article number 1 and Article number 2 are the two articles that actually impact the fiscal year that we're currently in. So if there are any type of transfers from the existing fiscal year 21 budget from one account to another, it would happen under Article 1. And snow and ice is Article number 2. So depending on how we end up at the end of this year, as far as expenditures go with snow and ice related items, that will be our second article on town meeting. We will know, oh, and then Article 3, prior year bills. Article 3 is if we need a 2/3 vote, I believe, at town meeting, or at least a town meeting vote to approve an expenditure from the current fiscal year for a bill that was for something that happened in the previous fiscal year. So these top 3 articles here don't have amounts in them. We'll know those amounts when we get to town meeting. Standard articles in every warrant. Article 4, Article 5 are the salaries for appointed and elected positions. Article 6 is our omnibus budget. Article 7 and Article 7 authorizes the water and sewer enterprise account. Article 8 appropriates $30,000 from that account for paving. We use that money for if we have any emergency breaks in water or sewer and need to pave the road. Article 7 authorizes our rubbish enterprise account. Article 10 appropriates $50,000 from retained earnings in our rubbish enterprise account towards our compost area. We have put $50,000 up from, I think, $25,000 a couple of years ago. We've started to put more money into to clean it up. DPW's done a great job. It looks great, but we have a lot more work to do. Article 11, Chapter 90 Highway. This is the funds that we get from the state for paving. You'll see later in this warrant an article for additional paving money. The funds we get from the state for paving are a little shy of what we are required to spend according to our 5-year capital plan for paving, so we supplement that with our own funds. Article 12 is a recreation revolving account. So these accounts are used for recreation, basketball, sailing, tennis, 4th of July. So these are funds that are raised in the fiscal year and spent in the fiscal year. Article 13 is intentionally blank at this time. We are waiting legal review on language for to create a permitting revolving account. The idea here is to use this for the Conservation Commission and for the ZBA, so that fees for application fees or fines or violations will actually go into a revolving account, and then we can use those funds to pay for either experts, enforcement, or simply what we have seen a lot is our cost for public notices has actually skyrocketed because our public notices now include a lot more text with Zoom information. And so from a public meeting notice that we used to cost about $100, now costs about $250 with the in the newspaper. So we are quickly running through the appropriated amounts. This revolving account will allow us to essentially charge the applicant for those costs. Article 14 and Article 15 are essentially savings accounts. OPEB or other post-employment benefits. These are costs of the town for retirees, for benefits for retirees. My first budget a couple years ago, we only had about $3,000 in this account. And in 2015, the Division of Local Services advised us that we needed to be putting money into this account and funding it so not to jeopardize our bond rating. So we've put $25,000 into this account each year since the last 2 budgets, and we'll be doing it again in this budget. Stabilization, again, when I first came on, we only had about $97,000 in stabilization, and DLS said that we had to be putting money into this account to help our bond rating. It's also good, this year is luckily for our town, we aren't hit as hard by the pandemic because we're not as reliant on commercial rate of tax rate or local meals tax or hotels tax and other funds like that quite yet. But it shows us that, without notice, you can take major cuts to your revenue sources. So building up the stabilization account, AKA a rainy day fund, is extremely important and a priority of mine and the FinCom since I've been on board. And so in my first year, there was about $97,000 there. We put $100,000 in it that year, $100,000 in it last year, and this year we'll be putting $125,000. So after this budget, if approved, we'll have just over $400,000 in the account.
Tony, let me just mention that to take funds from the stabilization fund, I believe it's set aside for capital expenses and it requires a 2/3 vote from town meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. Article 16 paving is what I was referring to earlier. Since I've been here, we've borrowed this $100,000 each year. In this budget, we'll actually be using free cash. So I've talked a little bit about free cash in the past. This Division of Local Services Best Management Practices says to use free cash for one-time expenses, for capital expenses, for savings or paying down debt, not using it for operational costs because it's an unknown amount of money that fluctuates year to year. So a great talking point for this year's budget is the way we're using our free cash in line with what the DLS suggests. And this is one of those items where instead of borrowing and paying back interest on an annual basis, we'll be using free cash to pay for this paving. Article 17, MWRA borrowing. The MWRA, our water supply, has a zero interest loan program. Any borrowing article that you see in this warrant provides the town authorization, does not require that we borrow, but it gives us the authority to do so. So we have, hundreds of thousands of dollars in water infrastructure needs. And so long as a zero interest loan program is available to us, it makes sense for us to at least have authorization to borrow should we need it for some capital work in the future. Article 18, Town Hall Capital Municipal Finance Software. This is actually our accounting software in the town hall. The software that we currently use is extremely dated and inefficient and sometimes inaccurate. It slows the community down. It slows our individual departments down. And if we want to, make the finances of the town a priority, having the software that allows us to manage our money in a efficient and more up-to-date and confident way, this software system is going to allow us to do that. It is a large expense up front. Annually, it's not much different for what we're spending on the current system that, isn't allowing us to accomplish those goals. So it is a large expense up front, but very, very much worth it. Article 19, Police Capital. Our two-way radio communication system at the police department is 30 plus years old. We've been patching it for probably the last 10 to 15 years. And we're at the point where our police officers cannot hear each other or communicate with each other when on different sides of the island. We've had multiple emergency scenarios in the past year where officers at East Point or Bass Point, 40 steps, sometimes right outside the building, cannot communicate with headquarters or other police officers on the road, which is, we just can't have that. And unfortunately, they don't even make parts for the system that we have. So this is a much needed, long overdue capital upgrade. DPW capital, we had our backhoe, our backhoe that we use pretty much for every job for the DPW, for every emergency underground work, was deemed unsafe. It basically the frame and the cab has rusted out. And so we cannot allow our employees to use the backhoe because it's not safe for them. So we have to replace it. And our water sewer utility truck as well. Both of these have fall into our capital plan years ago and have been bumped down the road for other important needs. So the great thing about this is, as I was talking about before, instead of having to borrow for this because of the changes we've made in the last couple of years, we will be able to pay for this completely with free cash, which is exactly what you want to use free cash for. Article 21 is community preservation, which the board has already spoke about earlier today. This article will have a number of sub-articles under it. They're not here now. That we had a number of them approved by the committee last year, and they were removed because of our efforts to minimize the warrant for town meeting last year due to COVID. So we'll actually have twice as many articles. Well, twice as much funding. I don't know if that equates to twice as many articles, but more articles than typical to review and vote on at town meeting. And typically we get those in the coming months. The next article is authorization of acquisition. This is the eminent domain article regarding Northeastern. The following article is Coast Guard Design and Development Advisory Committee. This is the article regarding the Coast Guard homes up on Castle Road. The following article is Wastewater Bylaw Amendment. This article is required of us through our administrative consent order from DEP, and every community is dealing with these issues at the moment. It's inflow and infiltration. Essentially what this article does is it creates a bylaw enforcement rules and regulation about illegal inflow into the sewer system. So that would be something like gutters, house gutters, or sump pumps that are tied into the sewer system. The next is a police bylaw regarding firearm discharge. This has to do with discharging of weapons offshore around the edge of the community. I know that this article's in here. I know this is still somewhat up for discussion amongst the board as to the details of this language. But we do have that article in here. Article 26, another article that came up a couple times here in the Board of Selectmen meeting, is snow removal bylaw regarding sidewalks. So this essentially requires that homeowners shovel the sidewalks in front of their homes within a certain time frame. I will say that we did do a lot of research in other communities, looked at what some of the issues were that they encountered with their bylaw, and one was elderly residents. So we did put in an item here under subsection C that reads, the Board of Selectmen may promulgate regulations to implement this bylaw. Waivers shall be available for disabled, elderly, and others with special needs or circumstances as promulgated by the Board of Selectmen. So it does give us that opportunity, if passed, to make some adjustments for folks that, may not be able to abide by it. Article 27 and 28 has to do with short-term rentals. So this is Airbnbs, VRBOs. The state allows every community to adopt local excise taxes. A couple years ago, we adopted the local meals tax. This is a local hotels tax. And the third is a marijuana tax. This one here, as I said, has to do with Airbnbs. We have quite a few in town. The way I see it, the beauty of this excise tax is it's a revenue stream for the town that is not paid for by residents of the community. I would assume most Nahant residents are not renting, renting homes from other Nahant residents. Most of the time, these are people who are not from Nahant coming in, and they're the ones who are paying the tax, not the homeowner. So this is an opportunity for us to capture some additional revenue. We don't have estimates as to how much this will bring in quite yet, but hopefully we'll get those soon. We've also heard a lot from the residents about regulations and rules regarding short-term rentals, and that's what the Article 28. Article 28 would create an advisory committee that would develop and draft bylaws regarding short-term rentals and propose those at a future town meeting. Article 29 and 30 are regarding the marijuana excise tax and marijuana bylaws. Again, these are intentionally blank regarding legal review. We have a local excise tax option. Currently, the town does not have any marijuana establishments in the community. However, we also have no bylaws regulating such enterprises. And so we've been doing some research on what type of bylaws are available to us and as well as an excise tax option. We do have the option to limit how many enterprises are in the town, things related to signage, zoning, other elements like that. So as I have a placeholder in here for them, and as we get that language and our options, I will present those to the board for your review. 31, Veterans Tax Work-Off Abatement Program. Right now, the town has a senior work-off abatement program where eligible seniors of age and income can work a certain amount of hours for the town and receive a $1,500 property tax abatement. This article would expand that program to veterans. Article 32, Senior Deferred Property Tax Interest. This comes from the assessors, the Board of Assessors. This would reduce the interest rate on deferred property taxes by eligible seniors from 4% to 2.5%. Article 33 and 34 comes to us from a resident in town. It's regarding a piece of property owned by the town that the front steps of the home actually sits on. It's a very small portion. It's 192 square feet, but it does require a vote of annual town meeting in order to proceed. Article 35 are tree bylaws. This has to do with, we've heard from Vi Paddock about our becoming a tree city community, which allows us to, makes us eligible for grants to, and prioritize the planting of trees. This is a requirement of that program. Almost at the end. Article 36, parking violations. This is more of a house cleaning situation where the town meeting in 1964 voted to approve Chapter 90, Section 20A. However, we employ the regulations and violations of Section 20A and a half. So what we are doing with this article is essentially rescinding the old and bringing in the most recent. That allows us to legally enforce the way that we are. Next are citizen petitions. These 3 citizen petitions actually came in last year, and we spoke with the lead petitioner of each about holding off until this town meeting due to COVID, and they all agreed. The first is regarding Lowlands Drainage. And it's to see if the town will vote to appropriate up to $100,000 regarding improvements to the drainage of stormwater in the Lowlands area. Through the budget process, we determined that the best option here would be to borrow for this should it pass. So we do expect a floor amendment. We will be putting forward a floor amendment. I haven't had an opportunity to speak with the lead petitioner yet, but to clean up the language to allow us to borrow instead of simply just appropriate. The next is the Wetlands Protection Bylaw. This citizen petition would, if approved, would rescind the bylaw that was adopted in 2018. The next is regarding keeping animals as pets. I'm not going to read through the whole thing. Essentially, it talks about limiting the number of pets on a property, setbacks regarding housing of the animals, and other things in here too. And then Article 40, continue committees. Still doing some work on this one. Spoke with legal counsel today, making sure that we have the appropriate committees listed in this article. There will be some changes here. And then typically you would see an article for gifts, but speaking with legal, we don't need that article. We have the authority to accept those gifts without a town meeting vote. So that one's not here. So as you can see, it's quite a long warrant. You know, that it's very possible that this meeting will roll into a second day. Any questions? I know I just threw a lot of information at you.
Tony, no, thanks for the presentation. You know, we met earlier in the week on this, went through it. I know that Josh and Jean also had met with you individually to go through this. I'm comfortable right now, as you mentioned earlier, that it's subject to change. We're going to open the warrant tonight as we did, and we'll close it. But if something needs to be amended or changed or added or taken out, the board can do that as we move along. But I'm satisfied with it at this point.
Likewise.
Yep, me too. It's a comfort to see our stabilization and reserve funds and OPEB funded appropriately for the first time in a long time. So thanks for all that, Tony, and FinCom.
So Tony, the next on the agenda is the budget. I don't know what you want to do. I don't know how much in the weeds you want to get with this. I'll leave it up to you. Again, we met with you individually on this.
I have a couple of highlighting talking points, but before I get to it, can you motion to
close the warrant?
Yeah.
Josh?
Sure. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to accept and close the annual town meeting warrant as presented and send it to the Advisory and Finance Committee to begin taking positions with the understanding that ongoing review will occur by the Board of Selectmen and that modifications may occur at a later time.
Yeah, I'll second that, but I'm just looking at the motions under the open and close annual town meeting warrant. And then there's another to follow up to accept and close the annual town meeting warrant as presented.
Yeah, and that's what the motion is on the table for.
Okay. All right, I'll second it.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor?
Josh Antrim, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I.
Now there's the next one, Mark.
It's the
There's a
budget.
motion.
Oh,
Yep.
it's the budget, right?
Yeah.
I can make that motion if you'd like.
Mhm.
I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to endorse the town administrator and selectmen budget for FY 2022 with the understanding that ongoing review will occur by the Board of Selectmen and that modifications may occur at a later time, and forward it to the Finance and Advisory Committee for their ongoing review in the FY 2022 budget development process.
Boy, that's quite the motion. Motion's been made, seconded
Seconded.
by Gene. Any discussion? Tony?
Yes. So, very, very proud of this budget. Very difficult year, and you know, especially going through kind of a short process from the last town meeting only being in September, and also having our, accountant retire last week, and bringing on a new accountant in Allison, who's been doing a great job. But in the short, in somewhat of like a awkward year, we did pull together a budget that I'm very proud of. The department heads, we met with each of our department heads, and they all put together budgets or requested budgets that were in line with the current circumstances of of the year that we're in, and not only that, but fall in line with the overall goals of mine since 2 years ago. So if you recall, the town approved a general override of $600,000 that in the short term, that first year, was to pay off storm debt and put money away into our stabilization and into our OPEB, pay down debt. And in future years, it would allow us to continue those practices of stabilization, OPEB, and debt, use free cash for one-time expenses, and begin to become less reliant on free cash to balance our budget. Last year, we were excited to report that it was the first year in many that we did not need to use all of our free cash to balance our budget. And then COVID hit, and we had to go through 1 month budgets through from July to September, and we had to change how we budgeted for the current fiscal year. And actually, what we did was we put a lot of the extra funds we were going to drop to free cash, and we put them towards the reserve fund so that we would have them available to us should our revenues get hit hard and our expenses increase due to the pandemic. And that happened. And luckily, we were able to go to the reserve fund and get money for public health reasons to help us get through the next couple months. So in line with that, what we're trying to do here is continue to build up our reserves, which will allow us to secure our bond rating positively, which allows us, the bond rating is similar to someone's credit score. So the better our bond rating, the better our interest rates are when we need to borrow. And the more we have in savings, the more we have in OPEB, the more we are paying down our debt, the better our bond rating is. So that has been a staple to the process of what we're doing. The other part of this is, limiting our expenditures so that we aren't outspending our revenues. Prop 2.5, state law, and especially in a town like Nahant, our revenues are limited by that 2.5 cap. So our expenditures need to be reflective or, correlate to that. And, it was something that was pressed on me by our FinCom to really focus on that and limiting our expenditures. So the idea is to slow down our spending, increase our revenues, and use that bonus free cash money when we have it towards one-time expenses and building up our reserves. And that's what we're accomplishing. We are in the second year of a 3-year union contract with police, fire, DPW, and clerical. That second and third year are both 3% increases. If you recall, the first year was 2, and the year prior to that was 0, and the year prior to that was 1. So with our union negotiations, we were able to come up with a contract that benefited the town in the short term due to the pandemic, but was fair to them in the long term. So with that additional expense in personnel costs, we really had to be creative in our budget with our general expenses and our supplies and different things of that nature to offset that added cost. And then we also were cautious about how much we borrowed this year in capital expenditures. And lastly, we prioritize public health, as I mentioned earlier. So in this budget, we will actually leave about $170,000 of free cash to drop until next year, building up our free cash reserves for future years, which is extremely important given that our revenues are expected to be worse than they were this past year, based on all guidance from the state. We've also employed a conservative estimate on our revenues. So to help us or prepare us for potential significant downfall in those revenues in the upcoming year. We've also only borrowing about $850,000. If you recall, compare that to last year, which was, somewhat unique because of sewer. We borrowed $4 to $5 million last year. This year, less than $1 million, only $850,000. We're using most of our free cash for one-time expenses, capital needs at the DPW, putting money into stabilization and OPEB, and only using a small portion of that to balance our budget. We are putting, that $170,000 that we're not spending this year, we're actually on top of that. We have about $170,000 of retained earnings in our rubbish enterprise and another $85,000 in our water sewer enterprise. So that $170,000 is actually more like $400,000. Plus, we've increased the reserve fund yet again compared to typical levels from years ago, in case we need to go there in the middle of the year for an emergency unexpected expense. And then probably the most important, or what I probably should have started with, is this budget prioritizes, as I mentioned, public health. In previous years, the town of Nahant has spent, or let me say this, last year the town spent $23,688 on public health. That includes our health inspector, our health agent, our health nurse, supplies, professional services. And those line items actually were sat within the town administrator, inspectional services, and the selectmen. What we've done this year is we've created a public health department within our budget where those items are separated from other departments, and we are funding that total department at $117,500. Now, a lot of that money is, or that the salary related expenditures in that are on an hourly rate and somewhat are unknown because of how long COVID is going to be impacting our community after July 1. But what we're doing here is ensuring that the community, or that our budget, is funded to support, whatever needs our town has in the public health realm. Short, in case we don't have more funds coming from the state. So that's, I would say that's, lastly, I guess one last thing is this total budget is only 1.2% increase to last year's budget. So very minimal increase compared to last year. So we are, holding up our end of the bargain there as far as being cautious with our expenditures.
Very good, Tony. Spending some time with you and Allison the other day, brought back all those memories of budget preparation. And you've done a great job with this, particularly on the health budget. Like you said, we don't know where the pandemic is going to lead next year. We need to have funds in that budget to account for it. If we don't need it, if we don't spend all of that money, then we'll revert to free cash, and then town meeting can reappropriate that funds as they see fit. But I think it's a good budget, and I'm satisfied with it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm particularly happy to see those reserve funds and stabilization funds funded up to the levels. As you mentioned, Tony, that helps with our bond rating, as well as, any unexpected expense, storm, capital need, whatever. We don't have to necessarily borrow every time. Before you came on board, I remember listening to interim town manager Jerry Perry talking about our financial future in very dire tones. So it's really good to see this turned around. So I'm happy with this budget.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey,
Go ahead, Jim.
The only comment I would have is I'm right in the middle here of accounting 101, trying to learn the town budget. I am seeing what a difficulty it can present and how easy Allison and Tony are making it.
Yeah. My only requirement as I get older is that the fonts that you use on the spreadsheets, Tony, have to get a little bit bigger.
I figured that out.
My magnification of my glasses has to increase.
I got it to print better later in the day. But yeah, you'll have a better formatted budget in front of you. And again, I would say that there's still some changes potentially to come in our enterprise accounts as we finalize our negotiations with waste management and we get our assessments from MWRA and Lynn Water Sewer. But for the most part, the general fund is where it's going to be.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. So we have a motion on the table for the FY22 budget to approve, and so that Tony can pass it on to the Finance Committee.
Josh Antrim, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I. Okay, good job, Tony. Good job, Allison, and Deb Waters for hanging in there for last month. So ongoing business, we have two meeting minutes to approve.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from January 7th, 2021.
Second,
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Josh Antrim, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I.
The next meeting minutes are, I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from January 21st, 2021.
Second,
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Josh Antrim, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I. Okay.
Before we move on, Tony, you had put a budget preparation schedule in the notes here. Is that something you wanted to go over, or is just?
Yeah, I can.
Why did you do that in your town administrator's report, Tony?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Item 5, preserving East Point. There's a couple items here that I'd like to discuss. We last week we had our eminent domain question answer session. I thought it was very well put together, Tony. Thank you, and thank you for both attorneys who participated in that. We had over 100 people on our Zoom call, which was encouraging. I thought there was an excellent dialogue that went on, and hopefully the residents who were in attendance came away feeling that they had a better knowledge of what the process was and what it meant. And if we need to do some more of this type of stuff before town meeting, we can certainly arrange that. But I thought overall the session went pretty well. Josh and Jean, any comments on that?
A lot of positive comments out there on it.
Good.
Yeah, just, I hope that it was enlightening for all of us that participated by Zoom and or watched on TV. So, yeah, it's a good session. As you said, Mark, if we need more, we can do more. But hopefully, people gain some insight into the process.
Great. Thanks for putting that together, Tony. Okay, under Preserving East Point update on Article 97 litigation, I do have some important news I think I'd like to share. As you know, I think last year the Board of Selectmen voted to join the Nahant Preservation Trust in their suit against Northeastern. The suit was based on a provision in Massachusetts, in the Massachusetts Constitution, referred to as Article 97. Basically, what Article 97 does is it takes property that is dedicated to open space, natural resources, conservation purposes that has been open to the public. It controls it from being developed upon. And the way it does that is by requiring a 2/3 vote of the legislature, state legislature, for any development on that. So that was the suit that we joined with the Nahant Preservation Trust. It's been sitting in the courts, a little delayed because of COVID. Northeastern at the time submitted what is referred to as a motion for summary judgment for it, basically saying, this should be thrown out because it has no merit. So a hearing was held on January 26th on Northeastern's motion for summary judgment in the litigation. Northeastern was trying to dismiss all of the claims brought by the town of Nahant and the Preservation Trust against Northeastern. The judge indicated that the motions were not appropriate at this time, and it was clear that he would deny them if Northeastern pressed them. So Northeastern agreed to withdraw them. Northeastern was also trying to send the cases back to land court, claiming that it had exclusive jurisdiction. The judge also rejected this attempt as well, indicating that given the prior orders transferring the case to Superior Court, he would clarify that he was being assigned to sit as land court judge to hear both cases. Northeastern had sought to keep the two cases on separate schedules, and the judge rejected this too. A third win for the town and the Preservation Trust. The judge also indicated that it will be some time before the case can be heard by a jury of 12, and that given his review of the papers, it was clear that some, if not all of the claims would need to be heard by a jury. This was yet another setback for Northeastern. Finally, the judge concluded by recommending that the parties consider mediation using a program affiliated with the Essex Superior Court. In light of this hearing, the upcoming eminent domain issue, and the pending Conservation Commission proceeding, I think it makes sense to send Northeastern a letter reiterating our willingness to mediate the case in order to try to achieve an outcome acceptable to all parties. And I have a draft that I like to read, and then I would ask my two colleagues for their comments. But this is a letter that I would like to have the Board of Selectmen send to Northeastern, and I'm going to read it for the record, Tony, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Dear Mr. Martin, Mr. Martin is General Counsel for Northeastern. I write on behalf of the town of Nahant and the Nahant Board of Selectmen regarding Northeastern's proposed project at East Point. The board understands from council that a hearing held on January 26, 2021, Essex County Superior Court Judge Jeffrey Kopp indicated that a jury trial may well be needed to resolve the issues in the case. That in light of COVID, such a trial may not be held for quite a while, and that the parties may wish to consider mediation facilitated by the Essex County Superior Court. Before hearing arguments on the summary judgment motions, Judge Kopp took the time to understand the issues and to clarify and reconcile the problems created by unnecessary procedural complications. Judge Kopp correctly recognized that these two cases, the one initiated in land court by Northeastern and the one in Superior Court brought by Nahant Reservation Trust and 27 citizens to which the town joined, should be litigated on the same track, decided by a single judge and tried before the same jury, start to finish. To that end, it is our understanding that Judge Kopp has written to the Chief Justice of the trial court to have the consolidated cases specially assigned to him and for him to be specifically appointed as a land court judge. The parties will now have the benefit of one superior judge paying attention. When Judge Kopp turned to the summary judgment motion, he encouraged Northeastern to delay consideration on their motions, and Northeastern agreed. The judge also informed parties that it would be quite some time before a jury of 12 would be able to hear the case. The judge also indicated that Nahant Preservation Trust and the town have brought claims and issues in addition to the public dedication claims that should be heard by a jury. At the conclusion, Judge Kopp encouraged the parties to consider mediation services offered by Essex County Superior Court. In light of these events, the town's consideration of eminent domain action and at the upcoming town meeting and Northeastern's January 25th, 2021 public statement, we request that Northeastern join us in accepting Judge Kopp's offer to arrange a mediation session. We believe that now is an opportune time to sit together at the table, remotely if necessary, and work toward a creative solution that is amenable for all interested parties in lieu of lengthy, costly litigation. We are willing to use the Essex County mediation services recommended by Judge Kopp or other mediation services, such as that offered by the Real Estate Bar Association of Massachusetts. We are also willing to have direct discussions without mediators, though we believe that the use of a neutral, skilled facilitator may help achieve a win-win solution to this situation. We also believe that such a resolution can be achieved. We have seen renderings and discussions in documents produced by Northeastern in the litigation that show Northeastern considered construction of the Coastal Sustainability Institute at various other locations at East Point or elsewhere that would not destroy the irreplaceable historical and natural resources on top of, into, and to the east of the Murphy Battery. While Northeastern has publicly expressed some of its reasoning in not continuing to explore any of those alternatives, we want to reiterate and emphasize that further consideration and exploration of those alternatives would be viewed favorable by the town. In fact, the town is willing to discuss the reasons why Northeastern has not pursued those locations and believe that in the spirit of this letter, many of those issues, including building height, parking requirements, geothermal heating and cooling systems, can be addressed to move the project forward with the support of the town. Please consider our request to mediate with us this contentious project. Please also consider withdrawing or requesting the Nahant Conservation Commission hold in abeyance Northeastern's notice of intent in order to allow for mediation to take place. It would be in the interest of all parties for the mediation to commence sooner rather than later. given the pendency of the litigation in the upcoming annual town meeting. Accordingly, we would appreciate a response to this letter by February 15th, 2021. Sincerely, Nahant Board of Selectmen. So I think that hearing on January 26th said it loud and clear that this isn't going anywhere until it's heard by a jury of 12 at Superior Court. I hope, I truly believe, I truly believe that this can happen. I hope that Northeastern agrees to mediate this issue. I do think there are solutions that the Nahant residents can get behind, and Northeastern can fulfill their mission with the Institute. So once again, I'm willing to sit down with them, either with an independent mediator or individually. Josh or Gene?
Go ahead, Gene.
Does that leave them open to some degree to build elsewhere on the site if we get into that kind of a discussion?
I mean, I think that's what we want to talk about, alternative sites.
Yeah, well, like I said before, they have a couple of them listed on the environmental impact report, and I'm sure that those would be ideal for them and maybe for us.
Right, and I think, as I said in the letter, that, you know, documents produced by Northeastern, renderings and other documents show that they have considered other places.
Yeah, it's a great letter.
Yeah, so, well, first of all, I think Judge Karp's decisions were wise and just, and, you know, validated all the concerns that have been raised. So I appreciate the wisdom and, you know, perseverance it took to get to that point by our attorneys. Yeah, and I think, Mark, it's a lot to absorb. That letter is pretty long, but certainly agree that mediation is a good option. It certainly would be wise for Northeastern to take us up on that offer. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Josh. Tony, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but.
I think it's a good letter. I think we should, if the board votes to approve, we'll get it on letterhead and we'll send it over tomorrow.
Yeah, could you post it on the Nahant website so people can look at it too?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you. So Josh, if I could have a motion to approve that letter?
Can I read it first?
Well, I just read it.
Yeah, I heard it all. So yes, there certainly was nothing objectionable in there. So yes, I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the letter as read, and submit that to Northeastern University.
Motion's been made.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing, hearing none. All those in favor?
Josh Antrim, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I. Okay, thank you. Tony, Town Administrator's report. I never saw you so excited than today. Jeepers. You were very excited. Little things like getting water out of Bear Pond can make you happy, right?
You know, I can't, you know, I'm not gonna lie about, you know, the difficulty or the, you know, just like it's been quite a few months now. And, you know, the good news about the COVID vaccine and just, you know, how well that clinic's going, and the call center being a success, and bringing on help for Deb, and then, you know, how we responded to the storm, you know, as you guys know, we're making some progress in a new website. And the budget, it's working on the budget, working hard on that. And, it's been a lot. And so today was a good day. We got a lot. We kind of met a lot of milestones. So yeah, you saw me this morning in a great mood. I was called nerdy by the staff in the town hall for being excited about the budget. So I don't know what that makes me being excited about storm drainage. But on my town administrator report, first I just want to report that with the administrative consent order from DEP, the next milestone of February 8th is coming up next week, where we're required to provide them a up-to-date emergency response plan. So essentially, if we were to experience, knock on wood, we don't, a sewer main break, having an updated procedure with contacts, from DCR, state police, Lynn Water Sewer, City of Lynn, DCAM, our contractors, and we have to provide that report, and we're on pace. We should have that to them by Monday. So I just wanted to report that we got that done. Next on my list is to provide an update on mosquito control and the dredging or storm drainage related work that we've been doing in town. So I'm trying to share my screen. Is this nice and large? Take up the whole screen?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So first of all, I'll say that, mosquito control, this is part of our, we pay into Essex County Mosquito Control like every community in our county every year. And for the past 3 years, they haven't come out and done any work. They went through some transition in their staff, and also the weather just never really worked out for us. We've had them out here the last 2 weeks, and thank God we did. The timing couldn't have worked out better because there's no way they would have been able to get out on the golf course today. So they got in here and finished up work just before this most recent storm, and it has proven to provide unbelievable benefits. So these pictures here are of the ditch on the golf course over by the 8th hole tee box, which this line pretty much supports White Way and behind Emerald Road. This area hasn't been worked on, maintained in I don't know how many years. And the work that Mosquito Control did along with the town, immediately we saw an incredible amount of flow from White Way through the golf course and heading down towards Bear Pond. Mosquito Control has a little bit more leeway with permitting with the Army Corps of Engineers, more so than we would. And there's certain things that we can do with without an Army Corps of Engineers permit regarding, regular vegetation maintenance with a notice of intent or order of conditions from our local Concom. But once you start dredging and actually removing material, that triggers a whole nother level of permitting through the Army Corps of Engineers. And Mosquito Control does this so much that they get through that process and have a little bit more leeway with the Army Corps of Engineers. So utilizing their contractors, their permit, and basically what we did was we expanded the work and the budget that they were going to be doing in town by paying for a little of it ourselves and providing DPW assistance. So this is the culvert right at the 8th hole. As you can see here, we were able to build this riprap sidewall here that helps maintain the slope. Every flood that we have, this isn't hard earth. It almost melts into the ditch every time we have heavy flows and flooding down there. So this riprap allows to maintain the form and the depth and the width of that ditch. On the left here, these two pictures on the left are before, and two pictures on the right are after. As you can see, these before pictures are before the dredging, but they're after vegetation removal. It's hard to envision, but like the picture on the bottom left, you can see where they cut down, 20 feet worth of vegetation just to see the ditch. Then they came in and actually removed material. And this is from the 8th hole tee box along the right side of that fairway heading towards Bear Pond. This is work. These are pictures after work has been completed. The pictures on the left here are those ditches looking from Bear Pond towards 8th hole. And the pictures on the right there are the ditch on, or the top one there is the ditch on the left side of hole 6 from Mitchell's Corner. Anybody that's driven by there over the past couple days has seen, the immense work that was done along that fairway to remove vegetation. And then when we cut down when Mosquito Control cut that vegetation back, it almost looked like a flat, wet, area. It didn't look like it does in these pictures on the left where it actually provides depth. Now it does. And immediately we saw height of the water in the ditches behind the dump and Ward Road start to decrease, and flow from Flash Road along that fairway increase. Ward Road also got a ton of work. As you can see on you couldn't see the ditch from the street prior to this work. Now, I don't have any before pictures, but as you can see on this top left, what we did here was, clean up that vegetation, put down that riprap, throw in some fabric on the side to keep material from growing back, or vegetation from growing back. And the end product is that bottom right picture. The storm, so first of all, huge applause to Mosquito Control and DPW for the work that they did in 2 weeks' time. Immediately saw response, positive reaction from that. This Monday, we had our first nor'easter of the season, and this is a video captured by one of our residents. This is what was happening on Willow Road. Ward Road area or Lowlands area definitely saw some water. Nahant Road saw some water coming over Short Beach. Willow Road here obviously saw some major impacts. And you can see almost, if I pause this, this water's coming over this wall and just filling the golf course up. On Tuesday night, when I left town and I was actually picking up my son from my parents' house on Ward Road, the ditch that I just showed you on the previous slide was filled to the brim of water. It was you could, the grass level, you couldn't see the ditch. You couldn't see the sides of the ditch. It was that full. On Wednesday morning, we hooked up one of our new portable pumps that we've been talking about. For quite some time now, the 8-inch diesel portable pumps. We hooked it up at Bear Pond Wednesday morning around 10, 11 o'clock. And we didn't even have it full throttle, but we hooked it up and set it up and started pumping out of Bear Pond. And we let it run overnight. This morning, Zach and I were both rushing to Nahant to see, what the impact it made. And I dropped my son off on Ward Road, and the ditch there was, 1/4 of what it was before that pump got turned on. Then I went and looked at the golf course, which was a pond. If you were at Mitchell's Corner and looked over the golf course Wednesday, it was an absolute pond of water. And today, around 10 o'clock this morning, it was almost dry. So just one, which we have two of those pumps, almost at idle in a 24-hour period, pumped out and dewatered a huge amount of water in the entire golf course. And it proves, again, I know I sound really nerdy and I'm overly excited about it, but it proves that there's flow from Ward Road to Bear Pond. Obviously that can be improved and there's more work to do, but that's a huge milestone for us to meet. The fact that we were able to dewater that entire area in 24 hours on one pump excites us about, what we're planning to do and how we could, handle larger amounts of water or the same amount of water with two pumps. So that's my update on dredging and stormwater.
Well, it looks like you had a lot of success, Tony. I happened to be pushing the carriage down that area today, and I met you and Zach. So it was good to see all your work coming through. Really appreciate. I think when you asked when was the last time the ditches were dredged, I think probably 98, 99, and maybe again in 2004. But that's the last I remember.
Yeah. It's actually the company that Zach, our DPW superintendent, worked for,
right,
was the company that was hired to do it. So he's got
right
the knowledge of it.
Right.
Tony,
Tell Zach good job too. We really appreciate it.
I know I'm really excited and pleased with the response that we did as a town. I don't want to, take away from, there were homes that did experience damage, business that did experience damage, and areas of town that experienced erosion and a lot of work to do to clean up and repair. I don't want to take away from that. Unfortunately, it wasn't determined as a state of emergency, so there won't be federal funding to help us with that. But we are documenting all that damage, and we are, looking at ways to make repairs and send that type of information into the state for assistance.
Well, you're not gonna stop the storms from happening, but it sounds like you really got to jump on recovery plans. Streets are being swept, debris is being cleaned up, trenches are being flowing again. So, I mean, all you can do is focus on the recovery, and it seems like you've made a significant advancement in that.
Yeah, it was so good to see that dredge work getting done, Tony. And, thanks to you and Zach for, I'm not sure everybody picked this up, but you got a lot more work out of Mosquito Control than we originally expected. I think all that ditch from Mitchell's Corner of Flash Road towards Bear Pond was beyond their original scope, right? And I was looking at it when they cut the vegetation away. And as you pointed out, you could really barely tell there had ever been a ditch there. And so, you know, neglect for years, and so happy to see that getting reversed. So thanks a lot. And on the pump, yeah, I went up on the Willow Road revetment, you know, before the pump got there, and looking at the Bear Pond pumps and thinking, oh, that's quite a bit of water, but the golf course is still full. And then after the diesel pump arrived and went up there, and it was just gushing water. And
I couldn't get that video onto the PowerPoint. I wanted to show the difference between the standard electrical pumps and then that diesel pump.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I couldn't figure out how to do it, but
as you said, I went over to the, you know, the pump itself, diesel, and it was like it was just idling. You know, it's just chugging away pretty quiet too.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony,
yes.
we've been chasing that rabbit forever, and it's great to see this kind of progress.
It's Mark, it's much different than that old yellow
Oh my God.
that old, like, what was that, like a Navy pump or something?
Yeah, offline, I'll tell you the story where I got that.
Well, we don't want to get cocky. There's still a lot of work to do, but really progressed in the last few weeks. So
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, the credit goes to the DPW.
Yeah.
They've been working since we had that meeting about storm drainage. That day, Mosquito Control had come out. So what was that? Maybe 4 weeks ago?
Mhm.
And that day, Mosquito Control started. DPW started that week on Ward Road, helped Mosquito Control. So in 4 weeks, I mean, a lot of work has been done, and it's all Zach and the DPW and the staff and the guys, and all credit goes to them completely.
Great job.
Good job. Okay, we got citizens forum. How do you want to handle this, Tony?
So for those who were on the eminent domain Q&A meeting last week, we tried to be a little bit better at how we manage the citizens forum. So, you know, I know that the committee, the board is open to inclusiveness with citizens forum, but we spoke about being a little bit more efficient in how we conduct our meeting. It is a meeting of the Board of Selectmen. There is work to be done, but there is a segment open to citizens forum for questions and comments. So I spoke about it at the beginning. What we'll be doing is the chat function is essentially preset now to just be sent to me. So if you are interested at any point to speak on an issue, just send me a direct chat with your name, and I'll call on you during the citizens forum. And at that point, you will unmute yourself, announce your name and your address and your question or comment. All right, so I don't know if Diane, I guess I'll Diane, you were the first on my, I'll ask you to unmute. You're the first in my comment section. I know it was a comment.
Yeah, no. When the police chief announced his retirement, I was saying, give him a standing ovation. Thank you, chief. So I didn't realize you were the only one that got it. So pass that along, please.
Well, while you're unmuted, I'd like to take the opportunity to publicly thank you for volunteering your time to help with the COVID clinic call center. Diane's been working in the town hall, volunteering her time to answer phones and give people appointments. And I don't know if you want to say anything about how well it's been going, Diane.
It's just been a great experience because the folks in town have been so grateful. and the team all working together and sharing information with the public. It's just been very gratifying. It's just all good stuff. So I commend you for setting that up, because this is exactly what the public needs. They need a little assistance walking through these electronic, websites and that sort of thing. And then we do the outreach, and I think they feel like they matter because they do. So I think it's a win-win all around. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Yeah.
Diane, I know one struggling piece of the whole call center thing was that folks without a cell phone and without an email were having trouble getting confirmation emails or being able to schedule appointments. I spoke with the director over there, and they said that just put the home phone number in for that part of the appointment, and leave the other two pieces blank. Now, you won't get a confirmation email, but essentially what confirmation email or text, but essentially what they're using that for is if they were to cancel a day because of storm related issues. So if that were to happen, we would be notified. We can flag those folks that don't have cell phone or email. We can even reach out to them as well. So,
Oh, that's great news.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
Yep.
Next is Ken Carangelo.
One second.
I can hear you, and I
Hello.
can see you.
Here we go. I wanted to repeat the question you answered offline, but just for the general public to also hear, the town warrant article that accepts gifts, that's been at the end of every warrant for, Mark, I don't know how many decades.
Yep.
That going away, you mentioned has something to do with the Municipality Modernization Act. As you said, it would be helpful to explain to people sort of why that goes away.
Yeah.
Because there is, it takes away, to me, it takes away a little bit of transparency as to sort of what's coming in, even if not the amounts, but just knowing that those are getting gifts.
The Municipal Modernization Act essentially provided for a lot of authorization that in the past may have required an annual vote, or it made it a little bit easier, I guess, for government to do its job. I will get a more of a formal explanation from legal counsel that we can share as we lead up to town meeting and at town meeting. One thing that I've tried to do is eliminate unnecessary articles that, for more better or worse, have been there forever and, actually aren't needed or are inaccurate. As I was saying to you, I think that even the continued committees article is somewhat needs cleaning up. There are committees on there that are in our bylaws, so obviously don't need a vote of town meeting to be, extended, because they are actually created in our bylaws. They are a standing committee beyond a year anyway. So it's stuff like that, just more of cleaning up the town meeting warrant.
Tony, let me suggest, I don't see any reason why we couldn't ask if we could publish in the Finance Committee's report all of the gifts we receive in any fiscal year. It could be anonymous, we could say that, but we could say what the amount of the gift and what it was for.
That'd be great.
Do we do that in our town report, our annual report?
I don't know, you could do it neither. I think what I hear Ken asking is, it would be nice to have this information. And,
Yeah.
we have other ways of getting it out to the public.
Yeah, we could definitely, it's certainly not about, there's no desire to be less transparent about it.
Right.
Just be more efficient with our time at town meeting, which this one especially, 40 articles, and that doesn't even include the sub articles on CPC and 2 that are going to take a long time. So just trying to be efficient with our time. But yeah, we could definitely include that in the FinCom book and the annual report.
And a page in the annual report, that'd be perfect. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Ken, did you have a second one? I think you might be next on my.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did. I wasn't sure if you wanted to do it right this second. Just going back to Mark, what you were discussing about the court decision and sort of, I guess, remanding things to mediation. Probably a great step. Would it also make sense for the town to hold in abeyance all the activities moving towards eminent domain and all those pursuits?
Well, I would certainly
to hold everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would certainly have an open mind going into mediation, and that, you know, certainly I'm not going to give up my position without knowing, without having some security. But Ken, I'll have an open mind. So I think the first thing I need to see if Northeastern responds by February 15th.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand.
Sorry, my Alexa.
Siri's got a question.
Sure, assistant. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Next is Cora Long.
Or still showing as muted.
Yeah, I'm trying to. The question in the chat was any update on the street lighting, expected date of the shields to be installed. We just got an email on that, Cora, today actually, but I didn't have a chance to read through it thoroughly. I think the biggest holdup was actually just getting the shields. They kept getting delayed. But we have a contractor, waiting for the delivery. So I will try to get an update on that and provide it at the next Board of Selectmen meeting. And that's all I have in the chat.
Oh, great. All right. Good week, Tony. I have a motion to adjourn.
So made.
Motion's been made, seconded, Josh.
Sorry, I was on mute. Seconded.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Josh Antrim, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Nice.
Thank you.